This was a massive pickup weekend. Let's talk about it. So this weekend there was a toy show, but there was also deliveries. I haven't had a drop like this in a single weekend in a long time. Normally, I pick up relatively 1 or 2 figures per paycheck, roughly. Whether that be through Amazon or making a stop at a Target or whatever, that's pretty much my going normalcy. Relatively, every paycheck, I try to pick up at least 1 or 2 figures. Sometimes that becomes 3, but my normal is about 1 or 2. This weekend, there was a toy show. And I purposely went out of my way to make sure I had money this time to go to it. And it yielded very real results. Very real. So, let's go over this. Oh, hold on, dog wants something. So, first off, I went to 2 places. I knew there was a toy show. So Friday, I went to the Overstock to see if there was anything there that I could grab up before I went to the toy show. Then, of course, I went to the toy show. Then I got a mail delivery. So I'll tell you where each one of these came from, and we'll go from there. First off, I picked up Darth Malik because, so I already have Bastila and I have Revan. And this was one of my favorite games, literally ever. So, Darth Malik. I fought with myself about picking this guy up. I mean, I knew that I wanted him. But it was one of those things like, do I grab one of the other things that I think is kind of rare, or do I consider him to be rare enough that if I pass on him, he may not come back around, or by the time he does, he's going to be one of those very expensive problems. And we talked about that. Sometimes certain things are out of your price range because you didn't pick them up when you had the chance, or just because naturally they became more rare than anybody ever expected them to become. So yeah, this is one of those guys that I said, I'm not going to wait. Basically, I have the main components that have been released for KOTOR, and so I'm just going to run with it, and I picked him up. Next, also at the toy show, I found the Amazing Fantasy First Appearance Spider-Man, and this is one that I have wanted since I seen it. See, I have my favorite Spider-Man. The Renew Your Vows Spider-Man on the shelf is my favorite Spider-Man that I currently have. He's my favorite. But there are certain Spider-Men that absolutely warrant a pickup. There's a couple of them that I still don't have. I want the Final Swing Tom Holland. That's the Spider-Man that I want. I also want a Scarlet Spider, a good one, the newer one. I also would love to have a Ben Reilly from the Retro Cardback collection. Would be fantastic. That would be perfect for me. And then, of course, there's a ridiculous amount of Spider-Man villains and whatnot. But those are 3 Spider-Men off the top of my head right now that I don't have, that I definitely want. And I'd love to get that 1970s television series one. That would be fantastic. But this really hits for me. This is the Steve Ditko small first Spider-Man. Black and red. Like, it's just, I mean, this is the comic cover. And I love how this body is going to make him seem younger. He hasn't been doing this for as long. He's not as buff. His muscles aren't as cut as they would be. Because you got to figure, Spider-Man would get bigger and bigger and bigger as he did this. Web swinging, just alone, I don't care that he's superhuman at that point. That would take real muscle. Like, just to continually do it all the time. He is always in a state of fight. Like, he's got to fight and jump and move and do all the time. And even for a superhuman, we've seen him time and time again reach a state of being absolutely exhausted. Well, development like that on his muscles, by the time you get to something like Renew Your Vows, he would look very different than he did when he started. So I actually really appreciate this, and it's going to be an absolutely fantastic figure to have, because it's really going to draw that comparison between his younger life and his older life. And I really dig this. This is one that I wasn't going to pass on. Only complaint, he's going to have those web wings. I'm not a big fan of the web wings in terms of characters, because it means that he's going to have two square pegs or something like that in his arms, which I'm always going to have to be careful about if I'm doing any kind of photo sets with him. There was another version of this, which was the retro card back one, and they both cost the exact same. They both had the exact same piece count as far as I could tell. They were both the exact same figure. This box won my attention. Okay, also from the toy show, we talked about this. I fought with myself. This was the hardest item for me to pick up. It was the most expensive on the table. It was $80. And I really fought with myself about this. Was it worth it? I'll know soon. I'll end up opening this. This was one of the only sets I wanted from that entire wave that came out. This Wolverine wave, where they were doing all the 2-packs, this was it. The reason, this fills 2 spots that are absolutes in my collection. One, it gives me a street clothes Wolverine, which is cool because that means I can finish my all-new Fantastic Four in a very real way. Right now I have the blue Wolverine and blue Spider-Man that's kind of a part of that team. But one could argue during that time Wolverine was a street clothes guy and Spider-Man was in the classic costume. Well, I can do either version of that team that I want now. I have a Grey Hulk. I have a street clothes Wolverine. I have a Fantastic Four Wolverine. I have a Fantastic Four Spider-Man. I have just a regular classic Spider-Man, and I have the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. The team is complete. And this completes it. And then this part right here, everybody's been talking about this Sabretooth. Is that a FOMO thing? I don't know. This could really make a difference. I didn't feel like it was a big deal at first. I have an older Sabretooth. It was from a Build-A-Figure line. I'm going to be honest, I don't necessarily remember exactly what one it is. But I've had him for a very long time. And he's bigger than Wolverine, which felt fine to me. But was it? Is he actually big enough? That's debatable. Because while it seems fine to me, like everything, like when I look up on the shelf and I see him fighting Wolverine and I kind of look at it and I go, yeah, it seems fine to me. I don't have a problem with this. Is it a problem? Hard to say. Because as I started picking up other big figures, Colossus, Juggernaut, Hulk, characters like this, big guys, Ben, I started to realize it is kind of looking like Sabretooth might be too small. Sure, he looks large compared to Wolverine, but is he small? Well, when I open this, I'm going to be talking about it. I will compare the two Sabretooths, and I will determine in terms of color and sculpt and size what Sabretooth is better. It will probably be this one. But I don't know. I have to compare it for myself before I make that determination. Also, at the toy show, I picked up this. This is the Secret Wars Black Suit Spider-Man. And I I really argued with myself about this. I thought about the Wolverine. So far I got the Captain America and I got this Spider-Man. And I don't really need anything else. I don't want anything else. It's cool that there's a Beyonder. I don't care. Titania, I don't really care. The Iron Man with skates. I'm not a big Iron Man fan to begin with. I have the only one that I care about on my shelf. The Wolverine. I have a brown suit Wolverine. And I'm fine with it right now. There's no real reason for me to upgrade it. Maybe if I had the spare money, literally burning a hole in my pocket, and I seen it, I would buy it and compare it to the old one and make a decision. But this one, I did a video a while back talking about where I came back into adult collecting. Where I came in and started collecting all of this. And I mentioned during that video that it was the black suit Spider-Man that started me on this path again. And so for a long time I've been reluctant to upgrade him. Because, I mean, he started it. But his articulation is out of date. His body mold is not great. I think he's using what they referred to as the Pizza Spider-Man body. Maybe. I don't even know. That's how long ago it is. And now I have this. This Spider-Man is the next step. It is the idea that figures get better and better and better, and we part with things in our collection. Now, am I getting rid of that Spider-Man? No. On a personal level, that Spider-Man's important to me. It was the moment I made the decision and said, I don't care what you think. I live this life. I like these things. You can get over it. And whatever comes of it, comes of it. And I bought that Spider-Man. And then I stuck to that decision. The first time that I was ridiculed for having bought said figures, I told that person, you can leave. Bye. You can leave. I wasn't interested in playing that game anymore. We reach a point in our life where we start to realize that things are finite, and we either do the things we love, do the things we want to do, or we don't do them. And that's your only two choices. That's the only two choices. Sorry to get very Yoda here, but do or do not. Those are the only two decisions you have. Make one. I chose to do. I love Spider-Man, and I bought a Spider-Man. And at that point, started going into this. And I don't regret doing it at all. It is a hobby that has brought me tremendous joy, interest, and entertainment, and led me down other paths that I was not expecting, like where I do the action figure photography and whatnot. It made this channel a lot more possible, and it made finding like-minded individuals that I can talk with, and it reinvigorated my interest in going to anime cons and comic cons. Like, I enjoy those things more now than I even did before. Because I have a reason for going and an interest for going. And I have a hobby that literally does, it takes up a good portion of my time. But would I be wasting that time without the hobby? Chances are, honestly, yes. This is a more active, involved hobby for me, and I've appreciated it very, very much. And it's helped me to nail down what I feel is important, interesting, unimportant, or uninteresting. And, believe it or not, this hobby taught me to walk away from things that were either uninteresting or did nothing for me. And it's helped me a lot in different ways. And that's why I was very reluctant to pick up a new black suit Spider-Man, because it almost felt like a betrayal of the first one. You get what I'm saying? But it's not. It's not. All of these figures are subject to upgrade. He will not be leaving the collection at all, but all of these figures are subject to upgrade. The engineering on these toys is so much better. I have one of the Wolverines that I grew up playing with. It's on my shelf right now. And then I have the X-Men 97 Wolverine standing right next to it. And to make a suggestion that toys were better when I was a kid, no. I know there are people that think that. And if you like vintage toys, this is not a knock against you. Love what you love, first off. Because that's what this whole hobby is about. And if you're just looking to dive back into your childhood, that makes a tremendous amount of sense. But we cannot lie to ourselves here. The Ninja Turtles that we grew up with are of extraordinarily low build quality compared to the engineering feats that they can accomplish today on a Ninja Turtle. That's just the way that it is. That's the reason Origins blew up the way that it did. Because modern articulation and engineering puts those old figures, as well as paint, puts those old figures almost to shame in some aspects. But there's something very special about having that figure you grew up with as well. Because there was a time when toys were simpler and they were toys. And I won't deny that for a second either when I see an old Superpowers Superman. That's why we do this. So this was a pretty tough decision to make. And I had to be very real with myself when I made it. And this would probably be a pretty big video for me in terms of really seeing the differences between where I started and where figures are now. It'll be interesting. The last item was an X-Men 97 Nightcrawler. I'm done with the line. Aside from when they finally release a Wave 3, I've got everything I want from that line. Everything. I passed on the Executioner. Didn't interest me. And I passed on Wrestling Costume Magneto. Those were the two figures in the line that I did not care about. Was Cable released X-Men 97 line? If so, I passed on him too. And I'm not worried about it one way or another. Cable's not a big fan, or I'm not a big fan of Cable. I don't care. This didn't affect me one way or another. I've got everything that I wanted from that line. I would argue he feels a little incomplete, and we'll talk about that when we open him, because I feel like he should have come with swords. But I also stopped by the Overstock toy store, and I got two items from them. One, which I did not expect to see. This guy was already at the Overstock toy store. This is Wildcat. Why is that important? Because when we talked about Power Girl, I mentioned that it was about to send me down a rabbit hole. That's JSA. I would love to build a Justice League on the shelf, but I also got to be very honest here. I would be even more honest and I would be even more interested in building a JSA. So I picked up two items from the Overstock toy store. Wildcat, that's step one, because I've got Power Girl, now I've got Wildcat. And check this guy out. Atom Smasher. I realize this says Black Adam. I don't care. This guy looks great. This is huge, grown Atom Smasher. And for me, this is not Black Adam. It has nothing to do with Black Adam. This is JSA. Atom Smasher was in the books when I was reading, and it was cool. The thing that's cool about the Justice Society is that they're like older heroes, simpler heroes. I mean, really, if you stop and think about it, what is Atom Smasher? Super strength, size manipulation. He grows big and hits hard. And that's a superhero. That's a superhero. They were in some cases, they were so much simpler. And there's something about that that's just really cool. Jay Garrick. And it's not that the Flash isn't the exact same thing, but what was Jay Garrick? Super fast? Super fast. We've gotten a lot more technical about what super fast means as we moved into things like the Flash. Oh, they were both the Flash, but you know what I'm talking about. But really, at the end of the day, the simpler hero, JSA, Jay Garrick, he's fast. Alan Scott was a simpler Green Lantern. He made a lantern, it was magic. He put a ring on, it was magic. He has magic power. He didn't have guardians and all this other stuff. He had magic. That's a simpler time for superheroes. And there is something that's intriguing about it that kind of takes me back when I view the JSA. And I see how those team dynamics, we often find ourselves in the Justice League where I'm like, this guy could just handle this situation by himself. You don't really come across that with the JSA. They kind of operate as a team more so than the Justice League in a lot of cases. There are times when I'm like, Cyborg could just do this alone. But Atom Smasher can't. Atom Smasher may be able to punch man hard, but then if he gets injured, he's in trouble. But they got Dr. Midnight. So I really love that idea. And then, in the mail, came this beauty. And you know we're going to open this. I wanted to buy 2 of these. I didn't. I bought one, and we will go over this one, and it will be completely awesome when we go over this one. And if I'm lucky and they didn't sell out like crazy, maybe down the road, maybe down the road I will buy a second. I don't know. But this video has exceeded into the 20-minute realm. Those were my pickups. I'm going to get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.